Hours away from a congressional hearing examining if the Biden-Harris administration weaponized the Justice Department for political purposes. Some of the instances we're expected to hear about are the Crossfire Hurricane investigation into Russian collusion, the multiple FISA warrants targeting former Trump advisor Carter Page, and the alleged suppression of the investigation into the Biden family. Former Assistant FBI Director Chris Swecker will be testifying at the hearing. Will join us now. Chris, there are investigations that look political that aren't, and there are ones that look political and were. First off, on the ones you think were, Crossfire Hurricane, does that file under the yes, it was political?
No doubt about it, Brian. I mean, when you look back at the origins of Crossfire Hurricane, and the DOJ Inspector General said this, it was an unpredicated investigation. That means that there wasn't sufficient facts to open up a full FBI investigation. So that, we know now, Peter Strzok, Page, McCabe, Comey, they had a personal animus towards Donald Trump. And if you remember the text between Page and Strzok, we will stop him. And that just resonates in my mind, and it did at the time
right.
when I heard about it. That's personal animus. That's injecting your own personal opinion and politics into a full FBI investigation that it turns out wasn't predicated. Then they went on to lie on FISA applications using that discredited Steele dossier. That would have never happened under an FBI that wasn't led by Jim Comey. I can guarantee you that.
This is what a life of a real FBI director looks like. At 4 o'clock in the morning, I start my coffee, and I check my Border Patrol app to see how many people I get to deport today. Skip the shower, fix my tie, and now I'm ready. On the way to work, I have a sensible donut, sip my coffee, and listen to the police scanner for any crime. At 6 o'clock, it's time to get to work. I walk through the Hoover building checking under the desk for anyone crying. Those people go straight to jail. At 12 o'clock, I have a lunch break. The leftover chicken marsala give me the energy to finish the day. At 1 o'clock, I like to call Adam Schiff's cell phone and play a recording of a clock ticking. At 5 o'clock, it is time to go home. I slap Dan Bongino's ass and say good game. When I get home, I eat more chicken marsala and then go to bed with my deck of cards. And that is...
I have a killer show for you today. Jerry, you can't knock me off my game. I'm sitting here crying. Laugh is so good. I want to watch more. It's like a sitcom. I want to watch the full sitcom of Kash Patel's Day in the Life of an FBI agent, the FBI director, Day in the Life. Jerry, that's a work of art. Oh, man. Let's make sure that sucker gets tweeted right freaking now. Man. Ladies and gentlemen, not too far off, though, actually. Not too far off. Kash Patel slapping Dan Bongino right in the ass saying, good game, here we freaking go. It is Tuesday, February 25th, 2025. Rogue FBI and CIA employees exposed for destroying evidence? Is this why we don't have the Jeffrey Epstein list? We're going to dive into it, ladies and gentlemen. Vivek Ramaswamy launches campaign for Ohio governor, picks up massive endorsements right out of the gate. Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna, Senator Eric Schmidt, and Steve Friend, FBI whistleblower, will join the program. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is the fastest growing news streaming show in the world, The Benny Show, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. The golden era is getting kicked off so nicely. And ladies and gentlemen, we want you to go gold with our friends at Advantage Gold. Listen up. Right now, we are seeing some major meltdowns in the don't talk to anybody who's been investing in crypto, okay, today. This is just ups and downs, all right? It's just the way that it works with markets. All I've ever said, and this is what I do personally, is I diversify into the top performing asset over the last 2 years. It's been gold, physical gold. And there's a reason why Donald Trump wants to go raid Fort Knox. It's because, well, having physical gold is valuable. America apparently has $500 billion worth of gold in Fort Knox, but nobody's ever seen it. What's going to happen? Ladies and gentlemen, the reason why this is such a news cycle is because, well, gold holds its value and increases its value without all of the fluctuations of the market. That's why I encourage you to diversify. Go hit up my friends at Advantage Gold. They've got you covered. They'll send you a free gold investment guide. They sent me the same thing. You can text Benny to 85545 right now and get your free investment guide right now. Plus, when you act today, you could qualify for $1,000 in free silver with your purchase. It's real value you cannot ignore. Text Benny to 85545. Don't miss this opportunity to secure a piece of America's prosperity. Data rates apply. Performance may vary. Consult your financial and tax professionals, obviously. Okay. I want to begin by establishing something very quickly here. That we love you. And nothing but hearts out to the chat. Okay? I freaking love the chat. We love you. We love the chat. We're here for you. Can we get some Cash Patels in the chat? Okay? Give me some of those sweet Cash Patel emojis in the chat. All right? We'll put them up on screen. We want to encourage our federal government. We want to encourage them to do the right thing. Now, our chat regularly and consistently, the followers of this show say, where the hell is the Epstein list? Why is our federal government protecting pederasts? Now, we have a responsibility to be your voice. We're you. I'm just like a dad getting up and grinding just like you. I just want to protect my family just like you do. And the idea that my tax dollars are going to pay for some predator's island and ranch in New Mexico and brownstone multi-million-dollar mansion in Manhattan, and that we were funding that in order to create some type of honeypot, like that is morally repugnant and odious to me. And so we ask everyone about Epstein. We asked everybody in power about Epstein. You've heard me ask it. Dude, how much do we ask about this? Klein and I screamed. We were live during Cash Patel's confirmation hearing, and one of the senators like, you said this on the Benny show. On the Benny show. It's like Amy Klobuchar. Like, comes after us. It was great. It was like an honor of our lives, actually. The reason why is because we actually are not scared to ask these questions. We asked this question of Pam Bondi, the top law enforcement agent in, I think you could argue, the world, right? Pam Bondi is in charge of the entire DOJ. She's our friend, and we freaking love Pam. And we asked her this question, and we were the first people to ask her about the Epstein list since she got in the chair. And here's what she had to say just 2 days ago when we asked her in Washington, D.C. This created quite the news cycle.
That guy is something Cash has talked about a lot, and you have when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein and the people who are like predators in this country. Yeah. They've been given a pass, and a lot of Americans think these guys have got a pass for a long time, and maybe even are still being protected right now. Where are we at with the Jeffrey Epstein list, the documents? And Cash has made a lot of public statements about this. Where are we at?
I was briefed on that yesterday. I can't talk about that publicly, but President Trump has given a very strong directive, and that's going to be followed.
Wow. Okay. So
a lot of documents.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So people can expect actual movement on this. It's not just empty promises.
Oh, Donald Trump doesn't make empty promises.
Yeah, right.
I think promises made, promises kept, and that's why we're all there.
We're trying to insult anyone. We weren't trying to obviously we're just trying to push on behalf of the chat, on behalf of the audience. Once again, hearts out to the chat. We listen to you, we hear you, and guess what happens when you ask a question like that? Well, first off, the original post goes thermonuclear. I don't know how many millions and millions and millions of views it has on it, but since we had the balls, big balls, just like Doge, since we had the balls to go in and actually ask these questions, right? Maybe we're the only show on Earth that isn't compromised by these people or being funded by the people who are funding Epstein, but we're not, okay? We can tell you this. We're not. You won't see my name on any of this garbage. You won't see my name on any of these little disclosure lists, right? Any of these USAID stuff. I guess we're the only show on Earth that isn't funded by USAID or some campaign or somebody or Pfizer, right? And we're proud of that. Anyway, we got no chains to hold us down, so we can ask these questions. Well, it creates quite the news cycle. One, it absolutely blew up the betting markets. I guess people are making a fortune off of this. FBI whistleblowers now claiming the FBI is deleting files connected to Jeffrey Epstein. What are the odds that they are going to be released? The odds are now, this show is now influencing the betting markets. We're getting ahead of ourselves. Here's Fox News. The day after we asked Pam Bondi this question, Fox News comes in over the top and says the same thing. Goes, hold up. Apparently, there's a lot of files sitting on your desk right now. What you gonna do with them? Let's go.
I saw your appearance at CPAC with Ben and with Ted Cruz, and one of the things that you alluded to, and this is something Donald Trump has talked about, the DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files. That's all in the process of being reviewed because that was done at the directive of the president from all of these agencies.
So have you seen anything that you said, oh my gosh?
Not yet.
Okay. Well, we'll check back with you.
So that among many other large cascades of dominoes have begun to fall, and many people are starting to ask, wait a second. So if the Epstein list is sitting on the desk, well, maybe it's time for us to get this out and published. Why isn't it being published? And more importantly, who's actually in charge of these files exactly? And this is something that Cash has said he's going to do on day one. This is something that Donald Trump has said many, many times. We don't have time to play you all of the videos. I can just tell you that we have, on this program, ALX, we have at least half a dozen times that Cash Patel has said, I'm going to release the Epstein list. So this is the Diddy list. And Diddy's lawyer quit. So Cash Patel and Dan Bongino get into the chair at the FBI, and then Diddy's lawyer up and quits that day and says he can no longer, in good conscience, defend this client. This is a guy who defended Osama bin Laden. I kid you not. Diddy's lawyer, his name is Tony Rico, is a guy who defended Osama bin Laden, and he up and quits the moment that Cash Patel and Dan Bongino gets in there. So something crazy is happening. There's this huge, huge energy struggle right now at the FBI, and lo and behold, we've done it again. Ladies and gentlemen, we created a massive news cycle by continuing this story. We had a whistleblower named Garrett O'Boyle on the show yesterday who blew our minds by saying that he has sources inside the FBI. This is a dude who worked in the FBI, worked in data collection at the FBI, so you have to just take him at his word that he knows what he's talking about. He says that there are secured servers at the FBI that are currently being destroyed right now, being wiped. And that's where some of this information might be kept. So we're just putting the pieces together, ping, 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 put the pieces together maybe this is the reason why it's taking so long, is that they're actually having to rush in to try and get this information out while the agencies are actively destroying it inside these little cluster cells. Here's what Garrett said yesterday on our program. We're going to talk through what massive cascade of news this has created. Let's go. Maybe give us a closer in perspective as to what the subversion is happening inside of the building right now. I mean, it's obviously you're going to have an antibody reaction to somebody
Absolutely.
like Cash.
I'll give you a big one that I heard recently, which was already passed on, is that there are FBI servers that are sort of standalone, and people inside the FBI have been working night and day to destroy files on these servers. And I was told that once these files are destroyed, the way they are set up, that even Elon Musk could not restore them. So that's happening right now as we speak. That's happening with Cash Patel being the director. It was happening before he got there. And so that subversion, like I said, started immediately. And it's only going to continue. These people, here's another example. I was told last week, right out of the gates, Cash Patel came out and said 1,500 people, 500, you're going to Alabama. You're still going to be headquarters personnel. You're going to Alabama. 1,000 of you, you're going out to the field. He said this long before the election, even, that he said if he was in charge, he would say, let cops be cops, and so go out and be cops. Already, people are saying, we are not going to comply with that. We are going to make it seem as if we transferred. We're going to do what they call, quote unquote, paper transfer.
So Garrett O'Boyle is an FBI whistleblower, and he made monster news on our program. This, again, went thermonuclear viral, millions and millions of views. The FBI has a secret server that they are deleting the evidence on, and there's no digital forensics. So there's a way to do it. It's a very, very sophisticated process, but there's digital forensics. You can really set something up that when it's deleted, it really is truly deleted. Not like Hunter Biden laptop kind of stuff, right? Where you can do all these backups, but you can actually really make sure that you're atomizing information and data. What data are they atomizing? We asked Garrett yesterday. Here we go. Somebody who works inside of the West Wing came up to us in a private setting when we were in D.C. and said, you would not believe the number of times that my office has to be swept for bugs.
It's crazy.
And inside the White House has to be swept by agencies to figure out if there's electronic monitoring that's happening to us on a daily basis. It's crazy, man. Any idea what was on the servers that's so damning that it has to be siloed into such a secure facility with the lack of redundancy or capacity for anybody to go through and sort of from forensic, like digital forensics, right? You can uncover most data that's deleted, you can uncover it in some capacity. So somebody's worked very hard to make sure that this data that you're talking about can be deleted and destroyed forever. Any idea what it is?
No idea on what it is. I can only speculate, but you mentioned the Epstein list. I'd imagine it's cases like that. It's intel cases that are very siloed, very secretive. And I'm sure there's probably even information regarding the FBI's own subversive measures against Americans, against.
Well, hold up. Wait a second. So here you have the FBI whistleblower who's testified before Congress, who was in charge of data collection at the FBI, telling us that there's a secret server that's being actively deleted and that the Epstein files are on that server. And at the same time, in this lane, you have this like problem where we haven't gotten the Epstein files yet. Is it because the Trump team is playing like catch up? Where are the files? Is it because the deep state might be actively subverting them? Well, this is, of course, a massive problem. Let's begin here with Michael Schellenberger, one of the best reporters in the world, confirming our scoop yesterday. Here's Schellenberger saying an FBI whistleblower, this is Garrett O'Boyle, right here that he tags, confirmed to me that a source inside of the FBI has confirmed that FBI employees are destroying evidence on servers. He has informed Kash Patel of this. I hope he and Pam Bondi, John Ratcliffe, Elon Musk, are preventing this. We urgently need disclosure, says Schellenberger, as he quote tweets Anna Paulina Luna. Anna Luna is one of the dear friends of the show and who's leading, of course, the task force for declassification here, quoting our tweet on this bombshell saying, who ordered the destruction of these documents? Kash Patel has to get to the bottom of this. Now, the Congresswoman will join our program in just a moment to talk about the potential penalties for the destruction of these kind of documents. But it gets worse. It always gets worse. It gets worse. Here we go. Breaking as a addendum to the news that we broke on the show yesterday via the FBI whistleblower at the Federalist. Ladies and gentlemen, deep state bureaucrats threaten to sell state secrets if Trump isn't nice to them. Say what now? CNN warns that the intelligence employees who get the axe are valuable, and that those same employees will sell national secrets if fired. Huh? Okay, here we go. Brace yourself as the propaganda press tries to stop Donald Trump from culling corruption inside of the deep state. Expect news stories screaming about ordinary budget and staff cuts that would have happened in any bloated private business under Trump that will be described as unfair and dangerous. Take, for example, on February 24th, a number from CNN, how Trump's government-cutting moves risk exposing the CIA's secrets. What is this? The short report required 4 CNN writers, many of them who have been involved in deep state leaking activity, which found, oh man, and then Natasha Bertrand, oh no, ugh, yikes, okay. Talk about literally sleeping with the enemy there. Not enough time to actually get into that one. Wait for a later date. Okay, we gotcha. Exposing CIA secrets? That sounds pretty dangerous. How much danger are we in? In a piece, CNN warned, as the CIA weighs staff cuts, current and former intelligence officials say that mass firings could offer a rich recruitment opportunity for foreign intelligence services like China or Russia, who may seek to exploit financially vulnerable or resentful former employees. The piece goes on. The CIA's 7th floor, home to top leadership, some officers are also quietly discussing how mass firings and the buyouts already offered to staff risk creating a group of disgruntled former employees who might be motivated to take what they know to a foreign intelligence service. So apparently CNN is pushing the creation of a 5th column inside of the federal government. There's a 5th column of federal agents, of CIA agents and foreign agents that are going to now work literally with Russia or China to sell our state secrets, to undermine President Trump, doing the exact thing they accused Donald Trump of doing, and CNN is doing predictive programming here. So understand how this all works. Understand how the media landscape works on these things. They go to the known deep state agents at CNN. The byline is just like a rat's nest of deep state leakers. They go there and they say, this is what we're going to do. We're going to create predictive programming. This entire thing is a hack and leak operation against President Trump. They're effectively like using this as leverage to say, this is what we are planning on doing. We're going to create a fifth column. We're going to take all of our knowledge and we're going to sell it. We're going to sell it to America's enemies. Like, say what now? The deep state is everything that we always thought it was. These people don't love America. They hate America. And the moment that they get an opportunity to betray this country, they will. Is that a threat from the CIA? Is CNN reporting that Trump should keep everybody employed because if he doesn't, CIA agents will spill America's secrets? Or worse yet, create a fifth column to sabotage America? These people are effing traitors. If that's the case, these are exactly the employees who should be fired. Those with too little integrity to exit with grace should not be employed in the jobs with access to America's secrets. CIA employees, as CNN describes, should not be trusted with any secrets. Within the piece, CNN ridiculously makes it sound as if valued modeled intelligence employees will get the axe. These same ones that are planning on running a hack and leak operation against America to give all of our secrets to our enemies, like traitors like the frickin' Rosenbergs? This is insane. Anna Paulina Luna, okay, quoting this and quoting Charlie Kirk. Okay, let's start with Charlie Kirk, and then a Congresswoman will be joining us. Okay? Will be joining us. Let's freaking go. Charlie Kirk saying, CNN is now saying that top leadership of the CIA is worried about anti-Trump personnel may be motivated to sell out America to a foreign power. In other words, these people who created the Russia hoax are now planning on selling America's secrets literally to Russia, and they're about to blame Trump. Get ready. The new op just dropped. Congresswoman Paulina Luna saying there is a massive war happening right now in the intelligence agencies. The corruption is being exposed. This is actual, literal treason. Burning files, destroying evidence, selling America's secrets to our enemies. The deep state is everything we always said it was and more and worse. And ladies and gentlemen, joining us right now, Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna. Let's go. Congresswoman, thank you for being on the program. Pretty alarming series of news bombshells over the last 24 hours. I guess let's begin with the FBI presumably destroying evidence. Can you talk us through, if that is in fact happening, Schellenberger backed up our reporting yesterday, what would be the penalties for that? Have you been in contact with Kash Patel or anybody in the FBI? It seems to be something that would immediately halt your investigation into classified evidence.
Yeah, of course. So I actually have a call set up right after this hit with the actual whistleblower that you were talking to yesterday to get some more information. And then I had a meeting this morning with the task force and our attorneys at task force. Look, it's very possible. First of all, we don't know who it is yet. And obviously we want to run down the sources. But if this is happening, first of all, it's obstructing Congress in our investigation. So you're talking about obstruction of Congress. That's obviously contempt charge. And so we would be bringing that forward if we can find out who it is. But I have the utmost faith in Kash Patel and Dan Bongino to find this. But I just want to be clear about something. From the get-go, from the start of us announcing this committee, we had anticipated that with President Trump's order to declassify documents, that it would be a difficult task, right? We know that when President Trump was previously in office, he was actually blocked from releasing the remaining JFK files by the former Secretary of State. And so we know that President Trump wanted this done. And so Speaker Johnson, Chairman Comer set up the task force to aid the president's efforts. Now, to be clear, we don't hold declassification authority, but we are the action arm and the punitive action arm of the president in the event that stuff like this would happen. And so what you saw was basically, I think it was an effort to discredit the task force. Why would you not want there to be oversight into the declassification process, right? Then we find out that with everything that was happening, we weren't really getting the responses that we wanted. We have government agencies that are obviously getting ready to give us briefings this week, but I did think it was a little bit peculiar that some of the documents that should have been released immediately weren't. And so I started getting vocal about that. Obviously, there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that people don't know about, so we have to create paper trails, et cetera. But long story short, when we saw that information coming out yesterday, unfortunately, it doesn't surprise me. Obviously, seeing what CNN was reporting coming out of the CIA is absolutely alarming. But I want people to remember that this embedded corruption has been there for generations. It's been kind of how Washington's been run, I would argue, since JFK was in office. And so there's a lot of work to do, but just remember that this is not by accident that this is all happening right now. And I would like to also let you guys know that I actually just met with the National Archives, and even they said that they're actually weeding out people at the archives that were obstructionists. And so President Trump definitely getting in, I would argue, has saved the country. We would not have known how bad it was had he not taken the executive branch. But again, it's alarming, it's disheartening, and I fully back my words that I said earlier that what the CIA is talking about right now, if people sell secrets to a foreign government, you will be charged with treason. So do not do that. Do not burn documents. You will be held accountable. We will find you. So just don't even do it.
So, yeah, let's talk about some of the punishments for treason or for destroying evidence that is under subpoena, or you have a right as the Article 1 of the Constitution to see and to oversee. These are obviously massive penalties. I think the penalty for treason is death.
Yeah, so especially if you're in the military, it is death.
Yeah.
But also,
and you are in the military. He is, right? So it's like you, your husband have both served in the military, so you're well aware of this.
We were vets. So if you're in the military and you're doing that, yes, the punishment can be death. Also, too, though, the current statute for a federal employee destroying evidence is a fine, and there's a minimum 3 years for prison. But what I will tell you is that's unacceptable, especially when you're looking at the evidence that potentially they're destroying. Remember, the whole task force, the whole purpose of this was to set up transparency so that the American people, would know what happened so it never happens again, right? If you're informed on history, it doesn't repeat itself if you take that seriously. But then you see this type of stuff happen. So I believe that those punitive sentencing needs to increase, and that's something that my office is looking into. But then we're also finding out, Benny, that the actual declassification process for documents that have been FOIA, that's in itself a nightmare as well. What we're finding out is even though the president might authorize something to be declassified, then it kicks over to the agencies that has jurisdiction of which the document came from for final review of the declassification efforts. In my opinion, if something's declassified by the president, that's it. It doesn't need to go back to another agency, another bureaucrat for declassification. And then the next thing would be is why is it that all these documents are scattered to the wind? It needs to be in just one central location. So the National Archives is actively, as we speak, working on setting up a one-page landing spot for all the declassified documents. Go direct. It's not going to be released as soon as they start to upload those documents, digitize them. They'll be on that website for the American people to know. But just know that I'm very serious. Right now, what's happening with the intelligence war happening, it's very real and it's very sporty.
So, I mean, again, like when you made your announcement, this is the first time I've ever heard a member of Congress come out and say at a public dais, like, hey, there were 2 shooters with JFK. It's pretty obvious. Now, the American people believe that, but I've never had anybody come out in Congress on an official seal, and say, no, this is actually what I believe, in fact.
And I'm not the only one. There's Democrats that also believe that. And I think that, going back to why we wanted to, again, establish the task force, it's not right for government to gaslight the American people, but also, too, let's talk about the evidence that was there. And, Benny, I actually made another groundbreaking statement that, look, the Warren Commission was putting out a faulty report and that there was a single bullet that happened to hit both the president and at the time the Texas governor. And I also said that I wanted to interview people on the Warren Commission. And immediately some of these Dem Oppo firms try to say that everyone was dead. Well, that's not true. They're actually alive, and we're actually trying to set up interviews with these people and talk to them. The whole purpose and objective of this task force, to be clear, is to ensure President Trump's documents are declassified. We are the action arm for the president. We don't hold declassification authority, but we are the bulldogs. We are the attack dogs that will be going after people that block and obstruct, and we will be making their names known to the American people. Now, to be clear, Congress also should follow up, though, on some of these new findings, because in my opinion, it does history a disservice when you're putting out wrong information.
So have you experienced, I mean, it's quite interesting. You announced your task force. A week later, less than a week later, we have FBI whistleblowers coming on this program being like, they're destroying the evidence.
It wasn't just, look, the day I announced the task force and I announced other members, first of all, there was absolute, I would say, an op to try to discredit the task force, which is weird because you would want there to be a task force to be the attack dog for the president to ensure that these documents are actually being declassified. Remember, we don't hold declassification authority, but we can bring punitive action if people are blocking, right? So that's the first thing. Also, pushing for more transparency and requesting other documents like UAP, like the 9/11, like COVID-19 to be declassified, which, by the way, Benny, I spoke to some of the families that are suing, some of the 9/11 families, and I was told, okay, not just me, but our investigative attorneys on oversight were told that the FBI mishandled evidence in regards to people that actually aided some of the 9/11 plane hijackers. They lost evidence. They did not respond to these families, to inquiry. They blockaded them. So the FBI, in my opinion, right now is in very bad shape. And Cash and Dan Bongino have their work cut out for them, although I think they're very qualified. And they're going to have to root out some systemic corruption because it's there. And it's obvious to me. But what I will also say is that no sooner did we announce it, was there the effort to obviously discredit. And then probably about a day later, we found out that the FBI found thousands of pages of JFK, MLK, RFK documents. And then
the timing, Congresswoman,
the timing
is really
crazy, right? And so while we're doing all this, then we're also dealing with getting the briefings from members from these other agencies that are complying, saying, hey, look, we're trying to find, we need to declass this. We want to work with President Trump's agenda. And then we find out from the whistleblower, of which I'm talking to right after this hit, that there's destruction of evidence at the FBI. Then we find out that the CIA is potentially going, there's rogue agents that they're worried about are going to be selling information, which is actual treason, to foreign adversaries. I mean, this is all very serious stuff. This is not just, a plot on a sitcom. This is scary. And so what I will tell you is beware of people that were intentionally trying to spread disinformation, because those people have said nothing about destruction of evidence by people that weren't tied to this task force. So you guys should be able to know who it is. Okay. So that's all I'll say about that.
So let's focus in on the Epstein list. This is something obviously that has been such a nexus point for everything from conspiracy to wild accusation to potentially entrapping royals and American presidents, right? And they're clearly very powerful vested interests in ensuring that everybody who ever went to Epstein's Islands or flew on the Lolita Express, that they never get exposed. But what's beginning to appear as a material accusation against Jeffrey Epstein was that he was being run as a foreign intelligence op, and that a foreign government was allowed to come into an American jail and kill him with the permission of Bill Barr and our own government. Now, the person who first floated that was your friend, Matt Gaetz, somebody who you've worked very, very closely with and served in Congress here in the state of Florida with. Matt Gaetz told us that on our program. And then yesterday we have FBI whistleblowers saying, absolutely, this is the kind of thing that a Mossad, right, would be able to engage in. A foreign intelligence agency would be able to engage in this and would be able to run an op like this. And the American government is protecting that. And perhaps those are the reinforced layers that are preventing the full explanation of Jeffrey Epstein from coming forward. Have you seen anything like that, Congresswoman?
Well, to be clear, I have not seen anything in regards to Epstein, hence why we're pushing for declassification. But to be clear, I believe that if there is protections, it's not coming from your overall general American government. It would be from rogue actors. And to be also clear, I do not believe that if people are, protecting whoever might be involved, look, these people were adults. They made decisions that brought them to that situation. If they're genuinely afraid about what might be coming out about that information, maybe they shouldn't have done it in the first place. But ultimately, this is about transparency. So if you want to restore trust within the government, you have to release everything. no matter who that implicates, whatever it might be. So we're pushing for that. But Benny, given your whistleblower coming forward and given the reports that we're finding, are we ever going to see the true declassified stuff? I don't know, because I don't know what's been destroyed. I also am going to be reaching out to Kash Patel, and I have faith that Kash will likely be responding, or at least if this is true, if it's not true, I mean, we all have questions. And so look, there's a lot of moving pieces. President Trump getting into office, if you think for a fact that he was trying to protect someone, you're wrong. As you can see, they tried to assassinate the man. As you can also see, he's been under great scrutiny by the leftist media. They're not wanting to talk about the wins. But the fact is that he chose to stand up, the declassification efforts because he wants to restore that trust. And so, look, we're not in the interest of protecting anyone except for the American people. And so I'm trying to push for that declassification. Obviously, don't have the authority to do it. But I assure whatever I come across, you guys will be knowing, and you guys will probably get it at the same time we do.
So can you just lay out the landscape here?
Yeah.
So what are you pushing for first? What documents do you want first?
Tell
us as much as you can right now.
I want any of the documents whenever they're available. I don't have a particular order. If I were to get, if Kash Patel releases or Pam Bondi releases Epstein stuff first, we'll look into that. If we get the National Archives to put up publicly the documents on JFK, we're going to look into that. I can tell you that how it was supposed to work per President Trump's executive order is that you would have JFK files released first, followed by RFK and MLK. Okay, so the reason why the task force again was set up is so that we can pressure people to do their jobs to release that information to the American people. Now, what I'm finding is that the archives process is a complete disaster, of which President Trump has rightfully appointed a new person to take that over. I did meet with the archives. They are going to have a website and a landing page where everyone can go directly. As soon as those documents are scanned, they will be up and available on the National Archives. So that will be for the American people to see. We're not stonewalling or gatekeeping anything. That will be directly for you to look into. Also, too, though, I do think it's important for Congress to correct the wrongdoings of previous commissions. The Warren Commission, in my opinion, was not done accurately. I think that they pushed a narrative, and I think that narrative was to probably reinstill faith in the American people, because at that time in history, it was very volatile. But I would argue too, right now, what we're finding and what we're seeing, the levels of corruption that exist in the intelligence agencies, that restoration of trust needs to be there as well. And so that's why you're actually seeing this as a bipartisan effort. Now, to be clear, I think it's very, very shady and very scary what happened with Jeffrey Epstein, okay? I do not believe that he killed himself, and I don't think other members of Congress believe that. I think that there's very powerful entities at play here. Frankly, I want to find out exactly what happened at the FBI, because if they are actually doing what this whistleblower alleges that they're doing without, government oversight, they're literally operating rogue, then those people are enemies of the state, and I believe that.
It's so interesting that you brought this up, and I did want to ask directly about the CIA, but Congresswoman, we have so many pieces of evidence. I mean, you have photographs and videos of the FBI raiding Jeffrey Epstein's home, bringing out entire terabytes of data, hard drives, CDs, video cassette tapes. We know everything's on film. We know everything's on camera. Tucker said it a million times. We have heard from our own whistleblowers. There's so much evidence there, and we've seen nothing. We did nothing. Boom, gone. Right?
That makes two of us.
Yeah.
And then we're finding out again. So going back to, we set up the task force, thought that we might be blockaded, and then we're finding out that there's destruction of evidence.
Okay. So very quickly here, a federal agent decides that they, according to CNN, CIA spooks are planning on selling America's secrets to foreign powers. This is clearly going to be something that someone like you, who's a veteran, takes very seriously. What will be the consequences if this report plays out? And the reason why we're taking it with seriousness is the byline of that CNN report are like all of the deep state leakers and reporters who do hack and leak operations regularly on behalf of the deep state. Clearly somebody is doing predictive programming, saying this is what we're planning on doing. What's your message to them?
Well, first and foremost, if you leak classified intelligence information to a foreign adversary of the United States, that is treason. That is by definition treason. and you will be held accountable. This is not the same Department of Justice that was under the Biden administration, or the same FBI, or the same CIA. To be clear, there is both good and bad, not just in Congress, but also in these intelligence agencies. So you have people that are true believers, believe in the Constitution, like this whistleblower that came forward, right? He came forward to Congress and testified previously, credible whistleblower. But what we have here is the CIA needs to go through and flush this out, because this type of behavior, basically politically motivated treason against the American people, in my opinion, if you have been entrusted to do this and you would put American lives in danger that could get us involved in another war, I believe that that should be treated as a capital punishment. That should be the death penalty.
I mean, there's no. What is the deterrent then at this point, right?
The UCMJ, and look, the UCMJ is separate from the rights that we have as civilians under the Constitution. But if you are releasing classified information that would put American in harm's way, in my opinion, and you're doing it because you don't like the president, capital punishment.
So, in closing, in conclusion here, Congresswoman, what is the best way that our audience can help out your task force? What is the best way for us to apply pressure?
So first,
because what you're talking about here is the most important work, I would say, arguably, to restore trust in the American people in their government.
Well, and I want to let people to know that this is not just like us. There's other members of Congress, Democrats, that say, "Yo, JFK was a Democrat. MLK did amazing things for the civil rights movement. RFK." All of these people historically. Why is it that this has been so compartmentalized, that the American people have been shut off? These were our heroes, public people to us. We deserve to know the truth. So stop silencing. So the best thing that you can do is listen to this segment, share the correct information, because I can tell you that the minute I'm one of the most conservative members of Congress, the minute that I announced this, I had a barrage of fake attacks. I mean, it was wild to see happen in real time. I don't care because I'm a member, but I'm letting you guys know it was intentional to try to discredit the task force. And then look at what we're finding out is happening. And people, I think, are shocked about it because it's just happening so blatantly in their face. Yeah. And so just remember, there's a lot going on in Washington. Just because you're not up here doesn't mean that you can't help fight the good fight. So obviously spread the correct information, but then also to keep the pressure on.
It's like amazing. We haven't seen anything move since Tucker Carlson saying the CIA source told him that the CIA had a hand in JFK's assassination. Tucker went forward with that reporting, and then his show was offline like a week later. It's like unbelievable. And
Tucker Carlson too has put out a lot of good information, and we've seen that Tucker Carlson, I think, was also being monitored by the intelligence agencies. Yeah. And so why would you at all want to attack someone like Tucker Carlson? It baffles me. So. Yeah.
Well, we look forward to it. We appreciate your bravery. Never heard a member of Congress be like, yeah, totally, there were two shooters. Duh. Everyone could see the Zapruder film.
I actually had the opportunity, and I'm going to be putting this up. I actually just spoke to an engineer that was able to someone connected to Janet Reno, who was investigating on one of the previous investigating committees, the JFK assassination, had actually asked that this engineering firm put together a rendering using modern day technology. And so they actually went and took an entire digital image using mathematical points. I think it was over 1 million points. And they were actually able to put forward the theory on the single bullet theory and actually disproved it with modern day technology. So
where'd that report go? I was like,
we'll be sharing all that information with you guys as soon as we get the digitized video that we need for it. But I mean, it's just, look, there's so many good people, investigative journalists, people that have dedicated their lives to uncovering the truth for the American people. And it was the fault of the federal government for not releasing it as they should have. Do I think that there are rogue actors in the CIA and the intelligence agencies that do bad things? 100%. But that is exactly why we have to have accountability and why we need to have transparency. And so it's good to hear that the National Archives is working with us because they hold a lot of this evidence. And the fact that they're getting a landing page up and ready for everyone to go to directly, to be able to have access to information directly and making it easy, that's the first phase, right? Second phase is we need to ensure that we have these different agencies completing President Trump's task, which is where we come in. We've asked for the documentations and to the implementation of President Trump's executive order. And so if we don't see people are complying with that, we're going to let you know.
All right. Well, we're open for business, right? And we're very happy to be creating some of these news cycles, applying pressure from the outside, and we very much look forward to the answers to these questions, because you can't have a real government if you constantly if you can kill presidents, right? And if you can keep these secrets from the American people, it's not a real representative democracy.
Remember, everyone, they tried to kill Trump not once but twice.
Yeah. Do you think
very radical, fringe, leftist? Look, the fact that we still don't know much about the initial assassination attempt on President Trump is disturbing. And what I was hearing in Washington in regards to who, like this person having access to, burner accounts, whatever. Why did we hear nothing?
Again, it's like not when you see the actual powers that had the ability to go in and kill a president in the 1960s, and then those powers remained unchecked for the next 60 years. Well, of course there are motivations to kill.
Look, what's interesting is I actually met someone that was actually a cryptologist at the Bay of Pigs a couple of days ago, and he said that there was, right when the Bay of Pigs was happening, that they received a encrypted signal that was not possible to be actually cracked. And so it was at the time the UN secretary had actually allegedly had ties, this was under Kennedy's administration, to the Communist Party, and actually was trying to interfere with that entire operation. And so this is, mind you, someone who was there. Okay, so I'm just telling you what I heard. And allegedly was responsible for that switch. And the guy said, I was basically told to kind of be quiet and promoted to shut up. I actually resigned my commission in the Navy after that occurred. So I think that there's a lot that we're unpacking. I think that a lot of questions people are asking, I think that those are right questions to be asking. And at the end of the day, remember that, at the time before we had the tech that we have now, there was a lot that could be gotten away with without there being accountability. Now it's a little bit harder because of forensics, all of that. But, it's an interesting time to be alive. And definitely I'm happy that I've been given this task force. However, let me tell you, me being able to witness the intel fight happen in real time is pretty wild to see. So,
yeah. Yes. In the heart of darkness, ladies and gentlemen, give power to the people who are fighting for the light. Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna, obviously followed by 750,000. We're on our way to 1 million. Here we go. 780,000 Americans. Can't be wrong. Follow the Congresswoman, an actual agent for light in Washington, D.C. Godspeed, Congresswoman.
Thank you.
Man, oh man. I just got to bring up one thing. Just got to bring up one small thing on all this. Something that popped into our feed this morning as we've started a sort of larger national conversation as to where is the Epstein list. The indomitable James O'Keefe cracking this story wide open some 6 to 7 years ago with a clip from ABC News. A reporter, very respected at the time, named Amy Rohrbach, ABC News, complaining and mewling off camera that the executives at ABC had the Epstein list. They had Bill Clinton. They had the royal family. They had all of the evidence. And that it was killed from on top. Somebody came down and took this reporter's work and silenced her. Who has the power to do that exactly? And what a strange new world that we live in, because at this point you would have to assume that the reporter would be so angry she'd go to social media, but there didn't really exist the same social media ecosystem at the time. And this just shows you the vested powers in all of this. You just ask yourself this: who has the power at ABC News to say, kill it? Who has the power, more importantly, zoom out? Who has the power to tell ABC News, which of course the only reason you have a CBS, NBC, and ABC is because of the operations of American intelligence agencies, putting old generals, right, or old agency heads in charge of these three major news outlets as they were originally formed, and then giving them on a silver platter access to America's broadcast waves. Who has the power to tell ABC News to shut up and to kill a story. Now you're getting there. So then who did it? Exactly. Here's the clip. It will haunt me. It will haunt my dreams. James O'Keefe breaking this news story years ago, and now it's come roaring back into the top of my feed because it shows you how the entire bloody operation works.
I've had the story for 3 years. I've had this interview with Virginia Roberts. We would not put it on the air. First of all, I was told, who's Jeffrey Epstein? No one knows who that is. This is a stupid story. Then the palace found out that we had her whole allegations about Prince Andrew and threatened us a million different ways. We were so afraid we wouldn't be able to interview Kate and Will that also quashed the story. And then Alan Dershowitz was also implicated in it because of the planes. She told me everything. She had pictures. She had everything. She was in hiding for 12 years. We convinced her to come out. We convinced her to talk to us. It was unbelievable what we had. Clinton. We had everything. I tried for 3 years to get it on, to no avail, and now it's all coming out, and it's like these new revelations, and I freaking had all of it. I'm so pissed right now. Like, every day I get more and more pissed because I'm just like, oh my God, what we had was unreal. Other women backing it up. Hey, yep. Brad Edwards, the attorney, 3 years ago, saying there will come a day when we will realize Jeffrey Epstein was the most prolific pedophile this country has ever known. I had it all 3 years ago.
I had it all 3 years ago. Clinton, the royal family, and somebody came in and killed it. They came in over the top and killed it. Now, they told the reporter, who, I don't know Amy Rohrbach, okay? But good for her for getting all of this. When this clip became published, she had to apologize, right? They forced her to apologize. This is the evil of corporate media. The corporate control of what we can say and how we can think, which really, it's all about thought process. This is why this is such an important topic to talk about. Because if they can block you from thinking about it, they can just kill Epstein in a cell and let a foreign government do it, then you don't actually have a justice system here. We don't actually live in the world. The world that we think we live in is fake if they can do this. If you're so inconvenient, if you or your child becomes so inconvenient to the state that they can just allow a foreign country to go into a federal courthouse and murder you, you don't live in a real country. The laws don't matter. That's what's so scary about this Epstein thing. This is why they're fighting so hard to stop this information from coming out. And that's why they shut down Amy Rohrbach there at ABC News, who I think was doing an honest, legitimate investigation. We had the Clintons. Notice how she said it? The Clintons. Not Bill. We had them both. It's too much. I can't wait. Like, we have the great Senator Eric Schmidt on, and we're going to talk with him about this and everything that's going on in the Senate with D-Class and some of the incredible work there. But it's worth noting this. ALX just grabbed really fast the one asset I'm going to ask for today. Donald Trump at CPAC 10 years ago. I must have that clip, okay? President Trump, this is why I have hope, all right? President Trump, possibly the first promise he ever made to you and the American people, and why we are fighting so hard for this, is that Donald Trump stood up at CPAC before that clip, before any of this reporting, stood up at CPAC a decade ago and was asked by Sean Hannity, who didn't know what the hell he was talking about, what do you think about Bill Clinton? And Donald Trump comes over the top with this answer that stunned the American people. Everyone was left gasping because nobody really knew anything about Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein was, of course, alive at the time, was still operational, right? Jeffrey Epstein was operating in the country. The entire thing was still going on. If you believe it's a Mossad op, if you believe this is a foreign thing, if you believe this is something run by our CIA, there's a lot of converging theories now. But here comes Trump in the year 2015 out of nowhere saying Jeffrey Epstein is a predator who's ensnared an American president in some of the sickest crimes imaginable. Listen to your boy. Here we go.
Bill Clinton. Nice guy, got a lot of problems coming up, in my opinion, with the famous island with Jeffrey Epstein. A lot of problems.
Sean Hannity, what? I don't know. Whatever. Right? And whatever. It's like, it's not, we're not trying to flame Sean. This was President Trump beginning to tell the American public what's happening, what your federal government does, who they protect, the kind of monsters they protect. And then Trump, of course, has gone forward and promised the release of this stuff and then appointed people like Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. Didn't have to. He didn't have to. We were at Mar-a-Lago for those days. We were standing beside Kash Patel when Kash went in to do his first interview for FBI director. We were there. I was physically his hype man at Mar-a-Lago for this. Okay, we can finally tell this story because we won, right? There were a lot of people that didn't want Kash in there. Kash is somebody who's promised this on our pro, and Trump didn't have to put him in that chair and didn't have to do the same thing with Bongino. Clip going viral of Bongino on Tim Pool's show being like, Epstein was a foreign op and was killed by a foreign government. Whoa, what? And then he says a Middle Eastern government. Okay, well, let's zoom in here. At least we can ask these questions. And the reason why we ask them is because if you expose this, you'll expose exactly the nature of your federal government. Who they protect, why they protect them, and that these people are, you destroy the entire system there. Because once the American public can lock in the evils that these people are willing to perpetrate, well, then you can destroy the entire system. And that's what President Trump's been doing, and he's been doing this work for 10 years. 10 years. Final note that Donald Trump was the only person that testified against Jeffrey Epstein when he was catching a case in 2009 in Palm Beach. Talk to the lawyers that put Jeffrey Epstein away, and then the government let him out of jail. Isn't that amazing? Jeffrey Epstein was caught a case and was sentenced and found guilty in Palm Beach in 2009. He caught a case and he was found guilty of child sex trafficking. In America, government lets him free, lets him out, right? The only person that testified against Jeffrey Epstein in that entire community of rich people was Donald Trump. So in case you're wondering who's on the side of righteousness and light here, you're on the right side. If you were part of that vote right there, if you're part of making the country look like that, you're on the right side, okay? And Christ is pretty brutal when it comes to what should happen to people that harm children, all right? You can go read the scriptures. Big old rocks tied around your neck, chuck them into the ocean. That's what the scriptures say, okay? So in case you're wondering. Whew, ladies and gentlemen. We are very excited to wipe away, and throw away the corruption of the past. Ladies and gentlemen, some of the horrors of the past may still be catching up to you. A lot of people got into debt in the Biden era. The average person today feeling some financial strain. Certainly, it has been tough for years economically for so many. It's hard to make ends meet. With very little left over, some people are drowning in debt. Interest rates are insane in the 20s and 30s. If you're a homeowner and you're stuck in this cycle of debt, you need to call my friends at American Financing. Their salary-based mortgage consultants can help homeowners save an average of $800 a month, helping put your hard-earned money back where it belongs. Plus, if you act now, you may be able to skip your next mortgage payment. No upfront fees, cost you nothing. Go ahead and check out how to live debt-free and stress-free. Call American Financing today and take control of your financial future. 888-528-1219. That's 888-528-1219, AmericanFinancing.net/Benny. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Jumping over, my apologies. I'm off my soapbox here. We have the great Senator Eric Schmidt from the state of Missouri joining us live right now. Senator, I get so hot under the collar about these things. I'm a parent. I know you're a parent. You have a beautiful young family. And it just seems like such a moral issue, right? Like, why does the federal government protect predators, right? It's like, shouldn't be.
Well, I think, by the way, I was listening to that segment. I need you as my hype man. Can you do that? You were
totally.
How do we do this?
Anytime, Senator.
I mean, brother, I love it. Yeah, it's disgusting, and this all needs to be exposed. Which is, I know that one of the reasons why you're so high on Kash, and so am I, and Dan Bongino now coming in. President Trump, I think what makes this so unique is people are used to politicians running a certain way and then governing a different way. Like they campaign a certain way and they don't actually do what they say they want to do on the campaign trail. President Trump's doing all of that, right? He's actually said he's going to be the ultimate disruptor to a corrupt system, and he's actually going to disrupt the corrupt system. And every day now we see the Democrats and their left-wing media allies complaining about it. You should see Capitol Hill today. I mean, these folks are like beside themselves that we're actually trying to save money, right? Or that there might be bloat in the federal government. But the people are with us. President Trump's doing it, and it's an exciting time. But Kash Patel, to answer your question, I think he's going to expose all this, which is about time.
We watched you vote in favor of Kash Patel. Just a couple days ago, we were actually broadcasting live. I'm sorry that we didn't get a chance to connect on Capitol Hill. We were broadcasting live from Markwayne Mullin's office with Senator Lee. Yeah. And it was a historic moment. It was amazing. And it was pretty shocking to see the number of people voting against Kash Patel, voting against this level of transparency. There seems to be a lot of vested interest in keeping secrets from the American people. You've obviously, as Attorney General in the state of Missouri, you worked so hard to stop censorship, to stop Dr. Fauci. You won. You've been successful in it. And it's got to be great to bring that to the federal level. And like, what are you going to be fighting with now that we have Kash in the chair, now that we have Pam Bondi there, Dan Bongino's coming in? What are some of the first things you want to see from a federal level?
Yeah, I think that it's interesting. So during Kash Patel's hearing, I got a chance to introduce Pam Bondi, before the Judiciary Committee, and then she passed, and then Kash came up. In those two hearings, it was really interesting. The Democrats really exposed what they're really afraid of. They're afraid of the weaponization that we've seen over the last 4 years, right? Yes. And both Pam and Kash both said, look, we're going to get back to crime fighting. We're going to end this nonsense. And I just sort of tried to make the point. I guess it went a little bit viral, but to make the point, like, look, the Democrats, I just don't think they've come to grips, Benny, with the idea that they're in this position. Think about what they tried to do. They tried to demonize half of America. Their opening and closing argument was that President Trump was a threat to democracy. The Americans sat in that jury box and they rendered their own verdict. They rejected all of their nonsense. They tried to tarnish Kash Patel. They tried to, again, demonize half the country. And we won. And now these people are in charge of really important agencies. And I think they're going to restore faith in the FBI, just restore faith in the Department of Justice. And the Democrats don't like it because they've been able to use these institutions against the American people and go after their political enemies. I mean, this censorship enterprise that we talked about, you and I have talked about on the show when I was AG and then now in this role, we're not done exposing this. I mean, I'm the subcommittee chair of the Constitution Subcommittee, and the Judiciary Committee has jurisdiction over the First Amendment. We're going to start looking at NGOs. Like, what role did they play? University of Washington and Stanford were used by the federal government to help flag undesirable language and censor conservatives and feed that to big tech companies. I think until we really appreciate the extent to which they went to suppress individual rights in this country, we're never going to fully reject it until everybody sees how bad it was. So I think that them coming into their roles, they can further amplify that. But again, get back to fighting crime. Kash, I think one of the most powerful things in this testimony, Benny, was when he said a third of all FBI agents are in Washington, D.C. He wants to get them out there to go after gangs, to go after drug cartels, sort of get back to the core mission of law enforcement. So I'm excited about Kash being in that role.
We've had some reports and FBI whistleblowers on this program saying that there might be an active destruction campaign for various files and evidence inside of the FBI. Have you heard anything about that? I mean, and the judiciary, you would obviously have jurisdiction there and the capacity to really investigate that. Concurrently, there's also reporting from CNN saying that CIA agents may go rogue and start leaking America's secrets to our enemies because they're pissed off that they got fired, creating like a fifth column in our own federal government. It's
crazy. And you saw these people walking out of the USAID offices with these, messages. I think what's so great about this, the Democrats can't help themselves. Like, they're swinging at every pitch here. They cannot help themselves. The American people do not want millions of dollars to go to Guatemalan sex changes. They don't want DEI trainings in Burma. They don't want their tax dollars to pay for LGBTQIA Sesame Street in Iraq. And this is what was happening. You know, like, I think we just got to keep laying it out and talk about all the ridiculousness that has happened. And they could have, I posted this on X, I think yesterday. The Democrats, they could have just let him go off into the sunset, but they couldn't help himself, right? They could not help themselves. And now President Trump is back, and he's going to change this corrupt system forever. And I'm excited about it. It's a pretty unique time to be here in the Senate. And we've just got to keep pushing not only the people that he wants in place, his team, to go do that, but then also as we go into reconciliation, a lot of things we're going to do in the Senate to put meat on the bones of that agenda that the American people are desperate for.
Yeah. So, okay, how do we break through the sort of declassification wall that is going to happen with these giant black documents that will be handed? Right, you'll be handed them. You'll go down into a skiff, all right, and then you'll see nothing, and it'll just be a giant blank document. Like, is there any thought process in? And I know that Chairman Grassley is obviously the biggest thorn in his paw has been this lack of transparency inside of these agencies. Is there a plan with Republicans to actually break through that wall?
Yeah, and I think that if you notice a lot of the hearings, Chairman Grassley, he talked a lot about that because he's got a lot of credibility with these whistleblowers over the years. They felt comfortable coming to him. And even when it came to the Hunter Biden laptop stuff, I mean, he was sort of in the middle of all that when it happened, where people, started to come forward on the nonsense that the Biden administration, when they came into office, whether it was IRS agents or whatever, of the things that were happening. But as it relates to declassification, they're beginning that process. And my hope is that it's not another, and I don't have any reason to believe this because I think President Trump is committed to this. And Tulsi Gabbard and the whole team is going to have a role in all this, that we actually, if there is something new to learn, that we actually learn it, that this doesn't get buried in, as you mentioned, sort of like total redactions. And look, maybe everything is what they said it was on the Kennedy assassination. I doubt that's true. But I think the American people, what are we, 60 years later, deserve answers here on the MLK assassination, deserve answers. The Jeffrey Epstein, list that you were just talking about, there's no reason why that should be secret right now. So I think this transparency is a new era. And by the way, for Republicans, it's a great way for us to continue to wear the white hats. We're wearing the white hats on free speech. We're wearing the white hats on reining in the excesses of government. We should be wearing the white hats on transparency. Let the Democrats defend permanent Washington. Let them defend the status quo that people are frustrated by. And I think that's the dynamic that's being set up right now.
Yes. I mean, thank God. It's so wonderful to hear it. Like, it's such an obvious win. As like a parent, as like a father, it's such an obvious win. No, actually, your tax dollars aren't going to be paying to protect pederasts, and it's not going to be paying to ensure that these people can run these like ops, right? Like you're not, like it's a moral question actually, like about the nature of our government, that we actually stand against these things, and we want these people to be prosecuted and to face justice.
And I think it also.
Diddy to Epstein,
right? And what you're hitting on too is, I think, this sort of two tiers of justice. You don't want to have, that one tier for political enemies and for everybody else, or you don't want to have a tier for, the powerful or the elites, right? And everybody else has a different standard of justice. That is, I think, at the heart of what you're talking about, and why people deserve to know that justice is being meted out fairly and evenly, and that nobody's getting special status here.
Yes. Okay. So final question for you, Senator, because it's something that has clearly been a bee in your bonnet, as they would say back in the Midwest, as my grandmother would say. Dr. Fauci got himself a pardon in the, of course, the small hours of the last hours of Joe Biden's administration, which is crazy. First off, I think that should be patently illegal. If he hasn't been charged with a crime, you can't just like blanket pardon somebody. Every president from now on is just going to pardon everyone he's ever known forever. Yeah, right. It's insane. Right. I think they're going to try and memory hole this guy. Now, you kicked his ass in the state of Missouri, and you were able to actually, one of the few people I think on earth that were able to actually depose Dr. Fauci. Where does this stand? I mean, will the American people ever get any type of closure for what this bastard did? And, like, are you going to lead any investigation or anything? Because you can still investigate the guy. You know, you can still, like, tell people, you still destroy his legacy, even if he doesn't wind up behind bars, which would be great. But, like, you can still destroy him, actually. And it's what the left would do to, it's what the left would do to us. So why not use those tactics against them?
Well, I do think there's a lot more to be done here. And I think that you made this point about, first point on these pardons. The Democrats would always argue that Trump was breaking all these norms. Actually, that's not true at all. What they did, though, they bulldozed all norms, laws, constitutional protections to get their way. And they protected this guy in a way that, like, this blanket pardon for things that he's never even been charged with is unheard of. Like, it's totally unheard of. But you got to remember, he holds like a cult leader-like status with the Democrats. They had Fauci candles. Remember, they were lighting Fauci candles. Like, it was totally insane. Some of it was Trump derangement syndrome, but it was also this abandonment of what science really is. And Robert F. Kennedy Jr. talked about this in his hearing, and he and I talked about it on the campaign trail. Science is always questioning assumptions, right? There's no settled science. Science is always challenging things you think to be true to make sure you have the most accurate information possible, and then the best treatments that are possible that flow from that, right? What they effectively did with Fauci was they said he is this lord of medicine. And what did he say? He said, "I am the science," I think, in one interview at the time. And the damage that he caused is immense. It's almost incalculable. This idea that, in the deposition, we confronted him with the idea, we asked him about how he feels about masks. It's, masks are 100% effective. Well, we showed him an email to a friend of his in April of 2020 who emailed him and said, "Hey, I'm getting on a plane. COVID is running rampant. Should I wear a mask?" And his response was, "No, masks aren't effective. You don't need to wear a mask." And yet he goes out there in this assemblage of power that he was able to get by standing at the podium time after time, or going on network after network and lying to people. I mean, he knew that the vaccine or the shot couldn't prevent transmission. He knew that it wasn't going to prevent you from getting it in the first place, right? But he was out there arguing it, and nobody's safe until everybody's safe. Benny, this kind of groupthink that we experienced through COVID, we can never let them memory hole it. They had police tape around playgrounds. They were boarding up basketball rims. They were telling people you couldn't see a loved one when they were dying. You couldn't see your family during Christmas. This was insane, totally insane. And so Fauci's got a lot to answer to. And by the way, just because he's gotten the pardon, it doesn't mean he can't be compelled to testify, and he can't take the Fifth Amendment because he can't be prosecuted. So let's lay it all out there, and let's bring Fauci back in.
Good. Okay. Fantastic. Are you going to lead that effort?
Yeah, sure. Well, some of this will be, I'm not on the health committee, so it'll be the committees of jurisdiction. But you know me, like, I've got a history with this guy.
Yeah.
So I work as closely with Rand Paul on this stuff as possible to hold this guy to account. So.
Fantastic. And here's some proof of what you just said. Here's Dr. Fauci with a votive candle of himself in his own office. He's sitting there in his own office. What a lunatic.
I mean, he was so smug in the deposition that we came back from a break. I may have told you the story. And this was in November of 2022, okay? This is not like March of 2020. The court reporter sneezed, and he was so, like, taken aback by it that he asked her to put a mask on, okay? This was the guy in charge of our public health, was so rattled by this that he was, asking the court reporter to put a mask on. He said he didn't recall 180-something times, even though he claimed he was the science. He's a total fraud.
Yeah, these people, rat bastards. And we often say that the problem with these people is they don't know God. They don't have any faith. They don't believe in higher power. They believe they are the highest power. And this is like the kind of sickness you have when you put your own face on a votive candle and then put it in your office to worship yourself. One of the many little pieces of iconography in Dr. Fauci's office that has his own face on it. These people are sick, man.
Well, it's like that meme with, like, the next thing. When you've got the left, it's like always the next thing, whether it's Ukraine or it's climate alarmism or it's COVID. Like, when there's no anchors. And by the way, this is what the left does, right? You cut all the anchors that tie you together: family, faith, your country. If you disconnect people from those things that we know bring people together, the left then has the avenue to put all these issues in front of people and drive them astray. And so it was very instructive time. It was, power doesn't necessarily corrupt, but it certainly reveals. And way too many people had way too much power that they never should have had during COVID. That's for sure, including Fauci.
Yeah. Everybody follow the senator. Just crazy senator that as soon as John Ratcliffe takes over the CIA, they change their tune on COVID. Wow, isn't that amazing? What timing? Really, Senator?
That's
what
right. And they can, by the
timing?
way, so that's the official one. They can also find me on X on Eric_Schmidt, which is my personal one. And we try to do a lot of updates about what's going on in the Senate too. I think it's a good way to stay connected. Your show does a great job with that, but there's a lot going on right now. It's an exciting time, and we just try to keep people in the loop.
Look at that. Great family there. And are you on the field there?
Oh, yeah,
Cardinals?
I got to throw out the first pitch.
Come on, man.
It was a strike. It was a strike, and I don't get nervous about a lot of things, but walking up on the mound, I was like, the downside's a lot bigger than the upside here, but it worked out.
You didn't Barack Obama it with the
No.
You didn't Barack Obama that sucker? Okay, good for you. We'll find the footage. Next time you're on, Senator, we'll find the clip, okay? We'll put it up and tell everybody, follow the man right there. 200,000 Americans, can't be wrong. Follow Senator Eric Schmidt. He's a real fighter.
All right, brother.
Godspeed,
Thanks.
Senator.
See ya.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're really excited to talk to our next guest, and we appreciate patience here, which is so much to discuss today. Somebody who's been a friend of the show. Forgive me, okay, but I just can't help myself. I'm a dad, and I look for low-hanging dad puns. I'm getting booed from inside of the studio. The boos are coming from inside the studio. A friend of the program, Steve Friend, former FBI agent, FBI whistleblower, and the man who knows where a lot of bodies are buried. Steve Friend, live now. Steve, what's going on, man? A lot of news. A lot of news about the FBI over the last couple of days. Drinking from a fire hose, and we want to speak to people that actually have authority on these topics, and you're one of them. And so thank you for being on the program.
Great to be here. And how do you know you've just heard a dad joke? When it becomes apparent.
Steve Friend, ladies and gentlemen, please follow him. He's great. Just kidding. That's good. In a different news cycle, we'll just do a whole show on dad jokes. But this stuff is crazy dark, man. We've had whistleblowers coming on saying that there's destruction of evidence. There's an enormous amount of panic going on inside of the FBI. Just this morning, right before the show, Andrew McCabe is up in my feed. Andrew McCabe filming some weepy, screechy video about Dan Bongino, and McCabe's losing his mind. So I'm thinking, wow, maybe we're over the target here. Let's start with Bongino and the cash selection. Based on your sources, is there panic going on inside of the FBI right now?
There's basically two camps, right? There's the door kickers, the actual agents who want to do the work of protecting the American people against fraud and force, and they're doing backflips over Kash Patel becoming the director, and then the selection of Dan Bongino as the deputy director now, because I think they are breaking the mold for what you would expect from positions of leadership. There was a lot of people I know that tossed in their resumes hoping to get to become either the director or the deputy director. I know Kash was fielding a lot of those. And the hubris and the lack of self-awareness in those people who were touting the fact that they'd been in the FBI for 15, 20, 25 years. That to me is a confession that you helped to oversee the devolution of the agency to become this weaponized apparatchik, the American Stasi, but they just never occurred to them. And then you contrast the real meat eater investigators with the left of center, we'll say, the communist support staff and the intel analysts who are weeping with the fact that now they're on the chopping block because the intelligence branch is probably going to be done away with entirely, as it should. And these are people who get paid to write term papers for a living over what they want. They research whatever topic they find to be interesting, and they use whatever sources they want, like the Southern Poverty Law Center or the Atlantic. And that's how you get an intelligence product that says that we should go and infiltrate into Catholic parishes, particularly people who like to go to Latin Mass because they're pro-life, pro-traditional marriage, pro-Second Amendment, pro-border sovereignty, making them anti-government extremists who we should try to arrest as domestic terrorists.
So you just talked about the intel section cluster, let's call it, of the FBI, and that there might be a splintered group inside of the FBI that are going to do everything they possibly can to sabotage President Trump and to potentially engage in activity that may be illegal. Some people, Garrett O'Boyle, whistleblower, saying on our program yesterday, followed up by Michael Schellenberger's reporting, that there may be active destruction of evidence going on right now inside of the FBI. This is classified evidence, maybe on servers that don't have any type of digital forensics and may be atomized. Have you ever seen anything like that? Have you heard of anything like that?
I have no reason to doubt the veracity of what Garrett's saying. I mean, he's a buddy of mine, and his sources are pretty much impeccable, and he's not a bomb thrower. I believe him 100%. But I am very familiar with the subterfuge that's been going on, just even outside of the context of destroying classified material. You talk about the ICE raids and the fact that all the different federal law enforcement agencies have been tapped to assist with the deportations of the illegal aliens, and the resistance that has existed inside my ex-girlfriend over at the FBI. I've heard different people have come to me with stories about the fact that there are open conversations in the office where they say, well, if you don't want to do it, if you have a moral objection, you don't have to do it. And what are your thoughts on people who do? And then people will openly say, I think you're a Nazi if you do that. And then after that, they'll say, hey, by the way, we're looking for a volunteer who wants to go on this raid. So if you raise your hand, everybody just says, oh, that's a MAGA Nazi, and you're going to have the target on your back at that point. And then you have other offices where senior executives are saying things like, well, we're not going to comply with that. We're going to opt out of it, or we're going to agree to do it. And then as you're on the way, driving in transit to go to the raid, then we'll get the phone call and say, yeah, we're going to back out so we can throw a disruption into this entire thing. Or then you go to the bureaucratic nature of it, the way that people are personally trying to enrich themselves, still using a quota system, making up new quotas for themselves. So I've heard that there's now a quota for the number of times that a senior executive actually attends the raid. They're getting a participation quota, and they will get bonuses for hitting that quota. And then also hearing that the FBI is opening a terrorist case every single time that they have to participate in one of these ICE raids. And that's how they're going to boost their terrorist numbers, so that they can say, look at all this terrorist problem that we have here, and we're going to need more resources and capabilities to spy on the American people.
Okay, I wanted to let you finish there, but what you said off the top was insane. You're telling me that the FBI is being used as almost like a salon, like a hair salon, with a bunch of people, a bunch of women who may just want to opt out and not follow orders. You're telling me that inside the FBI, an order comes down, and there are leaders at the FBI that are saying, if you don't feel like it, you don't have to follow the order. If this doesn't match your emotions of the day, you don't have to go deport this criminal alien. Did you just make that contention, Steve?
It's not just a contention. It's actually been reported to me by multiple people in multiple offices across the country that is going on here. And look, there's always the allegation that I've contended with, that other whistleblowers have contended with. Well, you were given a directive and you didn't follow it. And here's the difference. I mean, you have to assess that directive and see, is it constitutional? Is it legal? Is it ethical? Is it moral? But when it comes to assisting with ICE with a lawful deportation of an illegal alien, there's not a whole lot you can do. I mean, you maybe could object to some sort of risk to the public safety that you find unnecessary if it gets to that level. But here, just basically on your principles, saying like, I think the illegal alien should get to stay here, that's not acceptable. And that's the person that needs to be actually spotlighted, not the person who says, I'm willing to go along. I mean, that's the most fun part of your job. The illusion, the myth of the FBI is that what goes on TV shows and movies happens every single day. Most FBI agents sit in a cubicle. They arrive to the office, they take their gun off, and they put it in their desk drawer, if they even have it on to begin with. This is your opportunity to kit up, wear all your gear. There's no paperwork because ICE is handling all of it. And you're just going out and grabbing the bad guy, and then you're going and getting breakfast and going back to the office and to go do high fives and talk about how awesome your job is. But they don't want to do that. They want to get back to the office so they can, entrap people who are emotionally disturbed online, and then open up unnecessary terrorist investigations where they convince a person to do their worst idea, which they weren't predisposed or capable of even doing to begin with. And then we say, oh, you provided material support to terrorism, which is why 90% plus of counterterrorism cases the FBI has carried forward in the last couple decades are entrapment cases just like that.
Wow. So, okay. That's just, but it just seems crazy to me, understanding the constitutional order. that an agent can sit there and be like, no, I don't like this, and I'm just not going to do it. It seems like that's exactly what happened with this ICE raid that became quite publicized. Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem was on TV last night saying that they found the leaker. And Tom Homan saying the leaker was within the FBI. And that there was someone within the FBI tipping off Trende Aragua that there's going to be an ICE raid. Do you know anything about that, Steve? Like, do you know that there has any action been taken on this?
I haven't
does this
heard
regularly happen?
I haven't heard any sort of disciplinary action taken. And now, look, we have to give Kash Patel and Dan Bongino a little bit of latitude. I mean, they've been on the job for less than a week. But if they have been able to identify this, and it's not limited to just the Los Angeles raid, I believe that other ones happened in Illinois and Colorado as well. And I think as a society,
where the FBI agents were tipping off the gang
there were
members?
tips that that led to the basically aborting the mission that they were doing, because there's a risk to the agents at that point, right? I mean, the element of surprise is massive. It's speed, surprise, violence of action. Those are the three elements that you have to use in order to bring somebody who can be considered dangerous. And I think Trende Aragua fits the bill. And they made that assessment that that was unnecessary. So I think at large, there needs to be a serious discussion that if you're going to hit this level of subterfuge, then we need to have a discussion about maybe we just abandon these blue areas. Like, you don't get any federal resources at this point. We make the Martha's Vineyard, where Texas and Florida sent busloads of illegals there and they freaked out. We'll make that in your entire state. And then when your people cry out finally for the relief, then maybe you'll come back into compliance. And then the balkanization might be able to reunite.
So obviously you've done intelligence work. You've been on our program talking about your extensive knowledge of how this operates. We cover the news ecosystem, and we know when there are specific reporters on bylines at CNN that this is something that's predictive programming is coming directly from the calcified intel agencies that are balkanizing against President Trump. And there's this CNN report that went thermonuclear viral yesterday about how the CIA and fired agents at the CIA may well be planning to create a fifth column in this country and sell out the American government and our secrets to the highest bidder. First off, do you believe this reporting and contention? And then secondarily, I mean, what should be the punishment for these people if this is in fact true?
I do believe it. I think that that's accurate. I mean, the Federalist does really sewn up, buttoned up reporting on this one. And here's the problem that exists in the intelligence space. The people that are working on that, they truly believe that that is their information. Their work product belongs to them as opposed to the American people, which is why you're seeing all the congressional committees that are talking about releasing some of the documents, and they're sort of treating it like a game show to a certain extent. And I'm just of the opinion of that's our information to begin with. It should be revealed to us. But in the intelligence space, they are not viewing the American people as their customers, people who they're theoretically supposed to protect, to drive the mission forward. They look at the American people as an opportunity to write their next intelligence product. And it's just whether or not they have a problem with you, and then they can have their man and then find their crime to drive this entire mission forward. This does not surprise me that this is the mindset that they have. I mean, look, you had the 51 Spies Who Lies, who put out a fake letter in the lead up to the 2020 election about the Hunter Biden laptop being Russian disinformation. And then the FBI, which had the laptop in its possession, sent Elvis Chan out to social media companies to suppress that. This is the level of control that they feel that they have. And there's just never been accountability for any of them when it's been brought to bear. Well, now we're in a new time. The level of transparency that we're seeing in the last month of the Trump administration, and hopefully that we're going to continue to see, is a good thing. I mean, that's what the Doge is exposing, and just people having the scales fall away from their eyes across the entire federal government. But when it comes to the intelligence space, there needs to be actual accountability. There need to be people who are put into orange jumpsuits at the end of an L-shaped hallway in solitary confinement for the rest of their life, Robert Hansen style, because that is tantamount to treason.
This is the only way that you're going to get deterrence from this happening throughout the entire Trump era, because this entire machine, you're right, seems to operate totally outside of the federal government, outside of the constitutional boundaries, and it's gotten so wildly out of control. And they are very dangerous, these individuals. What would you like to see in conclusion here, Steve? What is the striking at the heart of darkness that would really set the tone here? What documents could be released, what secrets could be revealed, what punitive actions could be taken to show that there really actually is new power in charge, and this isn't just window dressing.
I mean, I'll just go to one specific one, and there's a lot you can pull from. I mean, like, I want to find about the Vegas shooting and the JFK files. I want the Butler assassination attempt completely opened up. And I say that because the FBI, the deputy director at the time, Paul Abate, went into a Senate Judiciary Committee hearing and told Lindsey Graham and the rest of them that they were treating this assassination attempt as potential domestic terrorism. And the reason they did that was because the FBI ruled that the congressional baseball shooting, where the Bernie Sanders supporter arrived, asked where are the Republicans, and then went and tried to kill the entire caucus, that wasn't an assassination attempt. The FBI said, because they weren't politicized at the time, of course, that was suicide by cop. So now we're going to take the blinders off, investigate it as domestic terrorism. Well, that means there's a classified marking on it. And I'm sorry, we can't comment on that. It's an ongoing investigation. You don't have a need to know. I want to see that full report opened up, because I alluded to the entrapment playbook the FBI likes to run, where they find a vulnerable person. One of the shortfalls of the plan, because of the FBI's hubris, is they keep that person at arm's length, but they're not really gettable all the time. And they think, well, of course they're going to follow the plan for us to entrap them. And they never think for a moment, maybe that person will go off script, like grab dad's deer rifle and climb on top of a slightly sloped roof. I think there's all the hallmarks, we'll say. We'll keep with the 51 spies who lies motif. All the hallmarks of an FBI entrapment scheme align with that, which might explain why they might have wanted to make it a domestic terrorism case, because they already had a domestic terrorist case open, which is what my contention has been from the beginning. I know it's a little bit conspiratorial, but let assuage me of that suspicion. Let's see that fully opened up and transparent. And the victim of that case is the current occupant of the Oval Office, the most powerful human in the history of the planet, because with every evolution of the presidency, the next president is the most powerful. He's the victim of that. And I think he's entitled to that information, as are the American people who put him there.
Man, so you think that Matthew Thomas Crooks was an op?
I think it was a failed op. I think it was a failed terrorism playbook, where they were going to try to get him for supporting ISIS or Boko Haram or whatever they wanted to get. Maybe potentially white supremacy, because that's the term du jour of the day. And I think that he just didn't follow all the breadcrumbs, and he went off script. And they probably already had an open assessment, and that way they could justify having that assessment open to begin with and bury it.
Incredible. And that's why all the weird things, no social media presence. He was on the phone with someone. We have photos of him on the phone with somebody before the assassination. He's sitting there. He's on a call. And we have nothing about that? Of course we have something. Of course there's carrier and there's metadata associated with that call. And of course the FBI has his phone. Obviously, right? Of course they can hack into his phone. That's insane. Why didn't his house have any silverware? Why has nobody interviewed his parents? Like, we haven't heard anything from his parents? The whole thing is bananas, Steve.
As is the fact that the January 6th pipe bomber from the RNC and the DNC was basically the sole weapons of mass destruction terrorist actor on January 6, 2021, right, and never struck again in the last 4 years. And don't know him, can't tell anything about it. I'm sorry, the cell phone data was corrupted. Of course, until the provider said, no, it wasn't. Still sitting with the FBI.
We're going to have our work cut out for us, man. There's a lot of outside pressure we want to apply, but we think we have the right people in the chair. And, well, we talk to the right people on the program. Like Steve Friend, who actually knows what he's talking about here, who's one of the bravest FBI whistleblowers out there, who's been speaking the truth about this agency for a long time. And we would really like to see what he's talking about, especially with the Trump assassination. Like that. You know, JFK is like so long ago, everyone's dead. Like, Trump assassination happened 6 months ago. It's insane, the timeline here. Happened 6 months ago, and we still know nothing. Everybody follow Steve Friend. Get in there and make sure that, like, the people that are here that are able to speak truth can and have the largest possible following, so that we can collapse the corporate media and can actually create our own news cycles, which is what we're constantly doing on this program. So thank you, Steve.
You got it. Have a good day.
Ooh, man, ladies and gentlemen, got some breaking news on Vivek, a friend of the program, someone who we've done a lot of work with. Vivek has announced he will be running for the governor of Ohio. Something we've told you was going to happen for like nearly months, like at this point. Vivek immediately picked up an Elon endorsement and a Donald Trump endorsement. So I think, quite frankly, it's pretty obvious you're looking at the next governor of Ohio here. Here's Vivek's announcement from yesterday evening.
I am honored to announce my candidacy to serve as the next governor of the state of Ohio. President Trump is reviving our conviction in America. We require a leader here at home who will revive our conviction in Ohio. And that is why today I am honored to announce that I am running to be the next governor of a great state at the heart of the greatest nation known to mankind, the state.
Boom. Proud of Vivek. Proud of Vivek. All of our friends are rocking and rolling, man. We're proud of him. We support him. We endorse him. Tomorrow we will have a man who is running for governor of Florida on the show, Byron Donalds, so don't miss that. And expect many, many questions about Jeffrey Epstein. we won't stop, okay? It happened here in Florida, right? Let's release all the documents. Let's freaking go. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned to our program. Use Patriot Mobile devices to do so. Patriot Mobile is the outstanding cell phone company that we use that powers our show when we are out on the road, when we are ready to lock and load in the studio. Patriot Mobile keeps us connected. They're on all three major networks. And by using Patriot Mobile, you support the First Amendment, Second Amendment, sanctity of life veterans, and first responders. The only Christian conservative wireless provider. Go to patriotmobile.com/Benny or call 972-PATRIOT for a free month. Promo code Benny. Switch to Patriot Mobile today and defend freedom with every single call and text you make. patriotmobile.com/Benny, 972-PATRIOT. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, lots of news. We'll be live later today for the White House press conference and our verse of the day from Ephesians 6:10. A final word, be strong in the Lord and in his mighty power. Remember, it's the Lord who fights for us. And with that, we can be assured of victory, ladies and gentlemen. So we say, march with us. You can't defeat an army of happy warriors, and we are winning. It's your boy, Benny. Thanks for watching. See ya.
This is what a life of a real FBI director looks like. At 4 o'clock in the morning, I start my coffee and I check my Border Patrol app to see how many people I get to deport today. Skip the shower, fix my tie, and now I'm ready. On the way to work, I have a sensible donut, sip my coffee, and listen to the police scanner for any crime. At 6 o'clock, it's time to get to work. I walk through the Hoover building checking under the desk for anyone crying. Those people go straight to jail. At 12 o'clock, I have a lunch break. The leftover chicken marsala give me the energy to finish the day. At 1 o'clock, I like to call Adam Schiff's cell phone and play a recording of a clock ticking. At 5 o'clock, it is time to go home. I slap Dan Bongino's ass and say good game. When I get home, I eat more chicken marsala and then go to bed with my deck of cards. And that is...
Where the truth gon' be, faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade. Cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. bringing liberty to light. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies, watch the truth cascade. With the warrior's heart, this man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny shows the storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salt in all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light.